Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Justin Young. He is Garrett Tucker. Welcome back to the Fast Break, the podcast right here on hoopsy.com. We hope everybody had a good holiday season. Hope you got all the turkey and the stuffing and the potatoes and sweet potato, all the things that you have on your grandma's table. We hope you got through that, got a good nap. Hopefully you didn't get stuck too much into Cyber Monday or Black Friday or anything that caused you to spend more money than you possibly really wanted to. Talking about myself, of course, Garrett. Talking about myself. But nevertheless, we got a lot of basketball in that time of the year. And one of the things that we know is a staple on the calendar is the Lighthouse Classic in Corinth, Mississippi. And Garrett, I know we talk about this every year, but man, that event, if you are a hoop head, you gotta go, man. You gotta go check that out. How was it this year?
Yeah, it delivered as usual. I don't know what it is. It's got to be the small town feel and the smaller gym. It's not very wide open, so it's hard to beat the crowd and the environment and everything. And then it's also for a good cause for the Lighthouse Foundation. So this is the 10th annual.
10? Wow.
Yeah, I know. I've only missed 1 year. They didn't have it for COVID, and I missed I think 2 years ago maybe. Was sick, but yeah, it like you said, it's a staple on my calendar. Love it every year. And this year, I mean, the stars came to play for sure. It was a good 2 days.
Let's set the table for those that maybe aren't familiar with that or what we're talking about. The Lighthouse really does a great job of bringing in teams really from the Deep South, truly in the Deep South. You got teams from Mississippi, from Memphis. You got teams from Alabama. Sometimes you got Georgia teams. And on occasion, you get teams from all over the country coming in through like either the grind session or a prep school division. And so it's always fun to kind of see these combination of teams kind of going head to head. And how big is that gym? I mean, it's not – there are bigger gyms out there, but I feel like that one feels like it's a really intimate experience.
It is definitely. You're right there, right on the floor with the players in the game. I'm not sure exactly what the seating limit is, but I mean it's nothing. Maybe 2,000. I would say.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
But it's very intimate. That is a very good way to explain it. But yeah, like you said, this from year one, it started out as a bunch of Mississippi and maybe a couple of Memphis schools. And now it's gone into like this year we had a couple in the prep school division from Seattle, Albuquerque Prep. So they pull from all over now, and then as you said, a lot of the top teams from the Deep South. So it's always good to see that different variety, different styles of play, and everything. So yeah, it did not disappoint, like I said.
You can feel the energy kind of percolate throughout the day with this type of event. As the schedule kind of gets older and later into the night times, the sun goes down, the games seem to get turned up a little bit more. What game was the best game of the 2023 Lighthouse Classic to you, Garrett Tucker?
I'm going to go with Raymond, Mississippi. They took on St. Thomas More out of Louisiana, a really good program. And it went back and forth throughout the game. Raymond ended up winning. I think they won by 2. But it was just a back and forth. There was no players that were just like, wow. But it was just a great, fun game back and forth. Both of those state championship level teams, I think Raymond, they've won several the past 10 years. Were in the state championship game last year. Same thing for St. Thomas More. They were a program I didn't really know anything about, but they earned a lot of respect around North Mississippi with just how they played. They played Raymond Friday night and then had another tough matchup against Huntsville High at Alabama Saturday. So they didn't win either one of those games, but they had a ton of respect. But that game, it was awesome, just back and forth. There were punches being thrown from both sides, figuratively, of course. So it was good. And then I'll even piggyback off of that. And kind of that small gym atmosphere, Boonville and Mountain Brook on Saturday night. Boonville, Mississippi, I think it's 3 or 4A. They won back-to-back state championships. They're 30 minutes down the road, and it was like a home game.
Yeah, for sure it was.
Yes, and so and then we all know Mountain Brook, how they play. They bring a crowd and the intensity. So it was very intense in that game. from start to finish. But I love the crowd and the atmosphere, kind of like we alluded to, just the intimacy and everything. People get into it, and it's hard to replace, that high school, rooting for your high school, local high school basketball team. So it was a good experience all around.
I love it. Yeah, those are the games too where I feel like teams will tap back into that experience from what they did right after Thanksgiving when we're talking about the postseason, right? Like, hey, listen,
definitely.
We played a state championship level team from New Orleans. We played a state level championship team from Alabama. Like this quick preparation, like we don't really know what to expect. Like I feel like these are the things, and we see this now. And I feel like high school basketball as a whole, nationwide, really has done a great job for these types of season tip-off events to really kind of get your team ready for what it takes to be a champion within your prospective state. And I think too, I was talking with Josh Tech about this morning. I think as we start to see these hyper local teams, it's changing, right? Because now we have all these prep school teams and these created teams and these teams that are made for television. That the hyper local high school team has really kind of changed, where you knew that you'd have a guy for 4 years, and then maybe the guy now transfers to go to a school that plays only in ESPN all the time, and or now he's going to a prep school within the own state. And so like these hyper local teams have changed these high level teams, where I feel like this event really felt like there were a lot of teams that are guys that have played together for a long time, which there in turn makes these really fun type of games that you certainly got this year at the Lighthouse Classic. So it's kind of cool to see that still lives. And I feel like the Lighthouse Classic is really one of those events that kind of celebrate those types of teams as well. And those classics,
true to your roots for sure.
Yeah. Maybe that's the new event that we're going to see, the True to Your Roots Classic. Let's talk about the top overall performers. Who do you have in that category?
I'm going to start at the top with Eli Ellis from Moravian Prep, recently committed to South Carolina. I told somebody this over the weekend, like you've got shot takers and then there's shot makers, and there's a lot more shot takers out there than shot makers. And Eli Ellis is an elite shot maker, as you said, an elite gamer, and playing hard is a skill now, and so that can't be discounted. It doesn't matter where it is, who he's playing against. You always know what you're going to get. He's consistent. He was the first day, Friday, they kind of rolled, and he only had 18 points, I believe, but he really filled it out and was rebounding and had some 6 or 7 assists, and then he followed it up with I think 36 on Saturday. So it really is, if you haven't seen Eli Ellis play in live, it's something that he's one of those guys I would pay to go watch. He's grown on me a lot.
You have to go watch him play. Yeah, like he's pure entertainment. I mean, he's pure entertainment, and he's a really good basketball player that really raises the level of play. I'm going to go really old school, and I'd go to City of Palms every year. I haven't, sadly, as much since I moved out to the West, but probably like the Lighthouse. They probably have this is their 10th year, you said. They probably have a nice history. They keep a good track of the history. And at the City of Palms, Teddy Dupay, who played at Florida, was a huge part of what Florida Gators did. Great shooter, an elite scorer. Eli Ellis feels like a Teddy Dupay type of player in high school. And Teddy Dupay was freaking everything in high school. The guy was such a great prep player, where Eli Ellis is kind of the same thing. Huge target on his back. Certainly well known amongst all the kids with all the social media, tons of views, big social media following. Guys want to come at him, and every single time he steps onto the floor, there's that pressure that's there. And I feel like he delivers in a way, to your point, that you have to go watch that to go see a guy kind of standing in the Coliseum, if you will, and seeing the Lions come out and how he's going to handle this challenge. And I feel like that's what you get every time with Eli Ellis. Also, I got a question for you. Was he rocking any South Carolina gear?
Definitely. Yeah. Definitely in warm-ups had the South Carolina pullover on. And like you said, I just want to make sure, I go, you hear about some talented players, like, oh, this kid's good. And you can go to a game and you'd be really disappointed, And I don't think I have ever been disappointed after watching Eli Ellis. And even if he didn't play, at his usual self, I mean, he produces. and there's got to be something said for that. So
yeah, that's it. That's actually a great. Yeah, I think you're right. Like, I don't think I've ever been like, oh man, I wish I'd have got more from him on that one. You know,
so
you're right.
There's not a lot of top dogs you can say about that. And hey, I think we've got him 35 or so in that 2025 class, and that may not be high enough.
Did they break a record this week at the Lighthouse?
They did on Friday. They broke the Lighthouse record for points and threes in a game. Moravian Prep hit 24 threes, broke their record from last year. I think it was 21. And I think they scored. I can't even remember how much it was. It was close to 120, somewhere around there. So the hot shooting of Moravian Prep, they play a unique style of basketball, get up a lot of threes. So,
how many threes? 23.
24. I think there were 24 for 53, maybe.
72 points.
Yes.
Off the threes.
Yes. Pretty wild.
Yeah, that's from the Trae Young School of Basketball, I think, on that one. Who else stood out to you as a top performer, Garrett Tucker, at the Lighthouse Classic?
I'm going to go with Braden Rivers from Huntsville. Had a really coming out party. The 6'6", 6'7" junior scored 24, hit a couple of threes, really scored it around the rim as well. Had a nice dunk over somebody, but he was really good in June, and that was everybody was asking, hey, have you seen Braden Rivers in this Scholastic June? I'm like, no, not really. And so he came to play. Caleb Harrison's been getting a lot of pub for that Huntsville team. And so St. Thomas More did a great job of doubling him, and Braden was ready. So he was really good. Also got to go with Christian Gilliland from Albuquerque Prep. I think he averaged over 30 points in 2 games in the prep school deal. He just knows how to get buckets. Going back to Gibbons with We All Can Go, he can get in the rim or get to the rim with as good as anybody. So athletic. So he was really good. And then there were even a couple of committed seniors that had signed a few weeks ago that were really good as well.
Yeah, give me some of those guys that you liked in that space. So like off the board guys.
I'll start out with Bartlett from Tennessee. I've beat the drum on Christian Alston for so long. I believe Christian.
That's your guy.
Yes,
that is your guy.
He was fantastic as usual. I think he had 22 against Germantown out of Mississippi. He makes shots, defends, just does whatever you need. He was really good. And you know how high I am on Christian Alston. After watching them Friday, I think I was higher on Rayshawn King, who's going to Arkansas State to play for Brian Hodgson.
Yeah.
I don't really know what to say, but I know if I was going to a street fight, I'd want to take that dude with me. He had the rough assignment. He was matched up with Sam Funchess, a really high 5-star big man in the 2026 class, and I think Funchess had 4 points. He just really made it uncomfortable for him throughout the game. But yeah, Rayshawn King, there aren't many guys like him that you can take and throw into a college basketball practice and look like they fit, and he does. He's a man, and he's going to be that alpha dog at Arkansas State.
I think we got to talk about Arkansas State because I was up in the Salt Lake area, and I watched Wheeler from Marietta, Georgia, came out there and played, and Josh Hill, who's going to Arkansas State, was unbelievable there too. So you got a 6'11", 7-foot guy that can hit threes. You got Rayshawn King, 6'8", like you said, a guy that makes you really uncomfortable. I would put that front line up with high major schools, SEC schools, ACC schools, Big 12 schools all day. So Arkansas State, if you're a futures player, right, like who's going to be a team that's going to mess up a bracket in a couple of years, keep a look, really close look on that Arkansas State team. That is an unbelievable class coming in.
Definitely. And then even going right down the street, a couple other guys are off the board with Cordova. Julius Thedford going to Missouri State. He was really good for them against Coleman, really set the tone. And KJ Tenner didn't play as well as he usually does. You could tell he was tired from the night before, but he still put a good stat line up. Tenner's going to Drake. Is going to be a really dynamic guard. I thought both of those guys were really good. Who else was there? Ty Davis for Mountain Brook in that Boonville game. He, it's just becoming the norm for him. He's getting denied, no catch. So he kind of has to pick and choose whenever he has the ball what he's going to do. And I think he ended up with 18, and Boonville's literally throwing everything at him. So he was good, going to be fit in perfectly at Creighton. So I think
another class we love. I feel like he's going to see those kind of defenses all season, right? Like everybody's just
and that's
so many different looks.
Definitely, and that's what we talked about in the press conference as well. He's like, that's how it's been every game this year. It's how it's going to be every game from here on out. And speaking of Boonville, I forgot Kedrick Simmons, another talented kid in the 2025 class. He would be one of my top performers as well. 6'6", 6'7", hit some shots, showed off his athleticism. He's going to be a guy that's going to garner some mid-major plus and high-major looks as this year goes on.
Love it. I got to ask you about my guy Clyde Walters, man. There's some guys that you see that you're like, oh, you don't even have to see him play basketball. You're like, oh, I bet that guy's unbelievable. And Clyde Walters for me is one of those guys that first look you're like, oh, that dude's going to be a problem in college. Just the 2026 guy. How did he fare in Pinson Valley? How did they fare at this game or at this event?
Pinson Valley, they lost to Yazoo City, Mississippi, reigning state champion, but it was a really good game as well. And like you said, Clyde just makes everything look so easy. Long, 6'7", kind of plays the role of a playmaker for Pinson Valley. I hate the phrase point forward, but that's basically what he is.
Why do you hate it? It's a great position.
But very overused, I guess.
Okay, fair.
Not necessarily accurate all the time, but he's very talented, and I've said this privately for like Caleb Holt is Caleb Holt. He's very good, but that I would say Clyde is number 2 in Alabama's 2026 class, and that there's not a lot that's separating them. That it's Clyde is closing that gap, I would think. And so, but yeah, he's very talented. Obviously going to have a high major recruitment. I'm excited to see where he goes the rest of this season. He's the guy for Pinson Valley, so he's going to have a target on his back as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how he adjusts to that as the year goes on.
Does Caleb Holt and Clyde Waters, they play each other at all this season?
They got a chance to match up in the regional playoffs. Yep.
All right, I'm keeping my eyes on that one. I got that. Then I have to circle that on the calendar. In any event coverage that we've had over the last 10 years on Hoops, and we always have a section called "Hello, my name is ... It's kind of like our introduction for guys that maybe we weren't familiar with, or guys that took advantage of the stage, and guys that kind of played their way into the conversation. Well, there's some of those players in this category at the Lighthouse Classic this year.
Definitely. I'll start out with Joseph Anthony from Germantown, 6'1", 6'2", combo guard. Like I said, Funchess is going to get a lot of attention with that team, but Joseph Anthony was really good. Very skilled. I think he had 15, 16 points, something like that. But he's a very heady player, and I think he's going to be a guy in that 2026 class for Mississippi that we hear a lot about. Anthony and Funchess, those both guys, they're going to be the future for Germantown. He was really good. Also a pair of guys from South Alabama at Baker High School. Desmond Williams, 2025 guard. He transferred in before the year from Saraland. Heard a lot about him, never seen him in person, so got to see him for the first time, and he was really good. Just another skilled guard, makes good decisions, can score it. And another name was Derek Florence III. Just 6'4", really just gets a lot of stuff done, long and lanky. He's very intriguing. So after losing LeBaron and Philon to Link, those two guys, that's some big shoes to fill. And both of those guys, Yeah, they both of those guys have done pretty well for Baker and to start out the year, and they were good. And I'll leave it with Evan Wilson from Coleman. Like I said earlier, Cordova kind of punched Coleman in the mouth. Cordova was up by 20 at one point. Coleman came back, but Evan Wilson didn't back down. 6'7", big man. I think he had 16 and 12 against Cordova. And unless you know about Cordova, that's very impressive stat line going against Julius Thedford and everything. So he's a name that I've known, but he showed me something new that I didn't know that he had. So I was very impressed with him.
I love it. Here's my takeaway of this 20-minute conversation we've had so far, Garrett. 24 is as good as we thought that it was going to be in the South. 25 has some guys that are impressive, and 26 has some dudes in the Deep South that have a chance to really be big national prospects in places like Mississippi and places like Alabama. What about Louisiana? How's St. Thomas more? Any young guys or just a team that's really, really talented?
They had a couple of guys. They had a couple of available seniors, Michael Mouton and Chad Jones. They're a really strong program. Historic coach, Danny Broussard. I think he's won, they said, over 600 games. That doesn't happen by coincidence. So
not at all.
Yeah, you're right. These 25 and 26 classes, it's very exciting. It's a good time to be in the South.
A lot of depth. Yeah, we knew that we can see that here at the Lighthouse Classic. Make sure you follow Garrett on Twitter/X, whatever we want to call it these days. Garrett's always got you covered throughout this Scholastic season. Make sure to also follow Hoop Scene AL, Hoop Scene Alabama. Tons of coverage going on there. And, of course, our main channel, Hoop Scene. All of our 2024 events are up on our event page now. Make sure you join us. We got all kinds of stuff. In fact, we're coming to Memphis this year for the Tennessee Jam, which we're really, really excited about. So make sure you go to hoopscene.com/events. Check that out. Of course, the Bama Jam is back. We got the Bama Cup. We got all kinds of stuff on the schedule for 2024. So make sure you go ahead and get your team, at least circle the dates on your calendar. I know you're not registering now, but make sure you circle the dates on the calendar. We got you covered coming up. And, of course, all the great events in Atlanta, going up to Nashville or to Knoxville, rather, this year, Florida Jam, live period event in Tampa, Florida. So a lot of new stuff this year on the calendar. So go check it out. Hope to see you and your travel team coming up in 2024. Garrett, this was good stuff, man. Make sure you keep us posted, and I know you will. And good luck with everything off the court as well. I know you got a lot of stuff coming up, and hopefully you got some good coffee and caffeine in your future, Garrett Tucker. We'll leave it at that. So, as always, this is good stuff. Appreciate the time and appreciate the insight.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.